All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome to the Create from Truth podcast. I'm your host, Will, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to master the 7 C's to get to $20,000 months consistently as an online health coach. Now, before I get into the actual process, I want to start by telling you a quick story. So when I was running SchillerFitness, at the very beginning, this was around 2016, I was PTing out of a gym in my local hometown here, and it actually came up for sale, funnily enough. And I was very, very interested in buying it and becoming a gym owner and kind of having this hybrid space of online coaching and in-person coaching, and also kind of having a gym to be able to film my videos and build my SchillerFitness brand at the time, right? And it actually wasn't super expensive. I could swing it, but I needed to build more cash inside of my coaching business. I needed more capital. And what I did at the time, I'll never forget this, was there's a few different things, and I'm going to say mistakes, that I made in order to try to build up this capital. I actually didn't end up getting the gym, spoiler alert. That's for a different story. But I want to tell you about some of the mistakes I made to try to make a lot of cash in a short amount of time to be able to afford this gym, because it's not dissimilar to maybe what some of you guys are doing right now in trying to grow your coaching business, because the short-minded mistakes that you make, that I'm about to tell you about, that I made, are not worth it in the long term. So when I was trying to get this capital, I broadened my ideal type of client. So I tried to work with everyone instead of just focusing on my ideal type of client, which were middle-aged, busy professionals who were working 9-to-5 jobs and had a sedentary lifestyle. They were sitting down all day. I just broadened it and I said, hey, I need to make a lot of money in a short amount of time. I'm going to work with everyone. That's the first mistake I did. Second mistake I did was I had my core offer that I was perfecting. I was building systems around, and I developed like 5 different offers because I wanted low, kind of low, medium, a little bit higher than medium, large, super large, different offers to be able to get more ideal types of clients on different levels of service, right? Another major mistake I made because I diluted my product suite. Now nothing was premium. There were so many different options. It was confusing. And I was young at the time, so I'll give myself some grace, but I had this mistaken belief that I was going to make more money with the more options that I had and the wider my ideal type of client. Okay. So that was mistake number 2. Mistake number 3 was because I was doing that, I was starting to compromise my core values, which is a big no-no, a huge no-no. I was starting to compromise my core values in what my integrity was in my health and fitness career, and what kind of clients I would take on, what I wouldn't take on. And I was starting to blur the lines in pursuit of this short-term goal to create a lot of capital to be able to buy this gym. Okay. The reason why I'm starting this story by talking to this is because at the time in SchillerFitness, I was probably at about $7K a month, 7, 8, 9K a month. And my next logical step was to get to 15, 20K months. But in order to get to that next step, 20K months, it actually took me a lot longer of a time than it should have because I made those mistakes. Those mistakes took a long time for me to clean up. So in me starting this podcast and talking about some different things, and I very much want you guys to learn from my mistakes and do not make the same mistakes that I made. Let me go through all that pain so that you don't have to. But over time, when I did scale to 20K months inside of SchillerFitness, these are 7 different C words, not the bad C word, the good C words, that really helped me get there and stay there consistently. And I still very much apply these 7 C's inside of Will Schiller Consulting now today. So I want to make sure that you listen to this podcast, you write these 7 C's down, and you actually take them on. You actually apply them, because it will get you to where you want to go. Now, this podcast is not tactical in nature. It's more high level. It's more how to think instead of what to do. But in my opinion, how to think is more important, because that's what's going to help you see long-term sustainable success. So let's get into it. C number 1 is having a connection with your calling. Okay. Having a connection with your calling. Now, I'm not trying to go off the deep end here for a second and talk about why you were put on this earth and your purpose, things like that. I could talk about that later. It's not for this podcast, but you want to make sure that you're closely connected with the why of your company. First of all, do you even know what the why of your company is? Like, why are you in business? Do you feel a deep connection with that why? Because if you don't, and if you're just kind of going through the motions, you're just working with client after client, I guarantee you your marketing message probably isn't that strong. You're probably not attracting ideal types of clients. You're probably going from client to client, and you might have a low retention rate as well, because that, for lack of a better word, that oomph with your message, that connection that you can feel in people's content, you can feel in people's videos, you can feel me saying it just right now because I have a deep connection with my calling with Will Schiller Consulting now. You want to make sure that that thread, if you will, between what you're doing in your day-to-day and that deeper connection with your business is strong. Because if it gets diluted over time, just like the story I just told you, in the first couple of years of me running SchillerFitness, and I lost sight of that purpose, it will only lead to a decline. Okay. It's usually, if not 10 times out of 10, not a positive experience. So make sure that you have that connection with your calling first and foremost. Okay. I know this is like high level, but, and more of a bird's eye view, not exactly tactically what to do to get to 20K months, but it's a very important element. I want to make sure that you take it on. Now let's talk about some tactical stuff. Number 2 is clarity. Okay. You have to be clear. Actually, the more I grow in business and the more high level 7-figure, multi 7-figure one-on-one private clients I work with, by the way, that's a different company that I work on. The coaches that I work with one-on-one more so want to get to 20K months, 30K months. That's usually what I work with. But I do take on some private clients who are at seven figures, multi 7 figures, and help them build marketing systems. But the more I work with those types of companies, okay, the ones that are doing 7 or multi 7 figures, the more I understand how simple their process is in terms of client acquisition, in terms of 1 or 2 main offers, and then just perfecting that offer, perfecting that process. And in order for those companies to grow, they actually have to make their systems simpler, if that's a word. Seriously, they do. And it's funny because I'll work with a coach who is under 5K a month, and they have the most complex offers, systems, lead generation, 10 different ideal types of clients, and they're under 10K a month or under 5K a month sometimes. And then I work with these multi 7-figure companies in a consulting capacity, and their process is just so simple. Like so simple compared to this coach who's struggling to make ends meet. So having clarity in your one ideal type of client, okay, your one marketing message, okay, the common thread that connects everything that you do, your one main offer, and then your one main marketing channel. That's what you want to find direct alignment with, because the more complex that you make your coaching business, the less it's going to scale. Okay. Simple scales, complex fails. Remember that. Simple scales, complex fails. And if you're a coach going from 10 to 20K months, do not make it more complicated. In fact, you should do the opposite, and you should cut the offers that aren't doing well with you. You should cut some of the 80-20 of the ideal types of clients who you don't want to work with, and go even more all in on the one ideal type of client that is producing 80% of your revenue. Okay. So that's the number 2C, is going through clarity. Number 3C is consistency. Here's a loaded question for you, and I want you to answer this honestly, because even for me, I need to continually remind myself of this too sometimes. Do you show up consistently, or do you only show up when you feel like it? Do you only show up when conditions are optimal, right? Do you only show up when you're getting a lot of likes on Instagram and things are going well? You have that momentum. It's actually what you do on the down days, much like the advice you give your clients who slip up on their diet or slip up on their training protocol. It's those down days where you don't let that slip into multiple days or a week or multiple weeks or a month, because then you're really starting to destroy momentum and it's a lot harder to get back on the horse. What do you do on your down days? Are you still consistent even if you're in a slump? Are you still consistent even if you don't feel like it? Even if you're not on track to hit your goals this month? because the best coaches that I work with still show up day in and day out, and they're consistent. They're consistent with their content. They're consistent in having conversations with their ideal types of clients. They're consistent with sending value videos, and they're consistent with making sure they're continually educating themselves and growing in different capacities, even on the slow days or weeks or months. So making sure that you trust in the process and your energy levels and your consistency levels in terms of how you show up doesn't fluctuate with your emotions is extremely important if you're a coach trying to go from 10K to 20K. So that's number 3. Number 4, and this is one of the most important ones. It's an intangible concept, but it's extremely important, is certainty. Are you certain in what you say? Are you certain in what you teach? Now, there's 2 sides to this coin, right? Because it's interesting. The more I grow in business consulting, but also understanding health and fitness and the new studies that are coming out, and even working with higher level companies, is that there's no one size fits all, right? There's no one law that governs everything. The more knowledgeable I get and the more I talk to knowledgeable coaches who are at the top of their craft, the answer is actually always, it depends, right? Like, it depends on the circumstances. It depends who you're talking to. It depends what exact situation it is. You can't paint the same brush for every different client or every different scenario. But do you have certainty when you talk about your process, right? Like, do you have certainty when you talk about some of the clients that you've worked with? Do you have certainty when you show up on social media? This is a big thing. Your certainty needs to increase when you go from 10K months to 20K months, because people want to follow leaders, right? People want to follow other coaches who, hey, I know that coach can get me from point A to point B, and they're not going to weather, right? Like, they're not going to go back and forth in terms of, is this the right approach? I'm not sure. Can you get to your results? I don't know. It's up to you. Like, no, this is my process. If you follow it, you will get to where you want to go, and here are the exact action steps to get there. Obviously, it's going to tweak and adjust based off of the scenario and lifestyle conditions that are coming up. But because I have a long runway with my coaching, we're going to get you there. Are you ready to go? Now, obviously, that's just me talking off the top of my head, but you want to have that certainty. If you don't have that certainty, you're not going to attract an ideal type of client to potentially work with you. Okay? So it's really important to remember when you're talking about your process, when you're talking to ideal types of clients. I'm not saying sell false hope, right? I'm not talking about be overzealous, but be certain. Have like a calm, cool collectedness to you when you communicate about your process and your certainty. Okay. So that's number 4. Number 5, let me look at my notes here, guys. Number 5 is capabilities. Okay. So can you shift the beliefs of your ideal types of clients to serve them and help them take that first step? More times than not, a lot of your ideal types of clients have limiting beliefs that are keeping them stuck in the cause of the current results that are just continually cycling inside of their life. You need to help them see things in a different way, a different perspective, okay? Because this is what you do subconsciously through your content, subconsciously how you communicate. Now you're going to start attracting the right ideal types of clients who are trying, right? Who have been listening to your content for a few weeks or a few months. They're already so well into their journey of understanding what their main problem is, understanding potential solutions that can get them to where they want to go, and then understanding how your process works and how your process can work for them and achieve the goals that they want to see. Now, all of a sudden, they're a perfect ideal type of client, and you send them a value video or you have a phone call with them, and it's going to be an easy sale. And you're going to be like, whoa, like sales are so easy. Why is that? Well, it's because you're being strategic with your content. Okay. Your capabilities in terms of when you create content, when you have conversations with one-on-one clients, when you slowly grow your audience with your 1,000 true fans is improving. And that's a very important C to go from 10K months to 20K months. Okay. Because what got you there will not get you to 20K. You need to slowly shift and improve and increase the quality of your skill set in order to get to that point. And it's very possible. It's very possible, especially in a short amount of time, if you follow the momentum cycle that you're creating to get to 10K months, to get to 12, to get to 15, and make sure that you're improving. Working with a coach is important with this, but you guys just need to have the self-awareness to be able to make sure you understand that next step for yourself. Number 6C is cash. Okay. Cash. What I mean by cash is not like you making a lot of money all of a sudden and stacking 20K and doing all these different things. I mean, you want to be smart with your money. You want to be smart with your cash in particularly. So what I mean by that is a trap I see a lot of coaches get into is that they start making some money and then they start spending some money, right? Their lifestyle correlates with the exact amount of money that they make. And they're still always kind of at zero. If you're at 5K a month, 10K a month, 15K a month, and that's a trap. Now, I'm not saying don't reward yourself. I'm not saying live your life. Like, I'm not a financial advisor. Like, I'm not. So take this, what I'm about to say, with a grain of salt. But I will say this. Nothing gives you more calmness and confidence almost by knowing you have cash in the bank. Right? Now, if you're having a sales call with a prospect and you know you have cash in the bank and you're good, you and your family are good, you have a certain calmness, a certain cool and collected energy about you when you're on that sales call. Versus if you have no money in the bank and you fucking need this client, that sales call is going to go differently. You're going to be kind of agitated. You really want this sale. The phrase I use is you're horny for the sale. Even if you don't think you are, you will be subconsciously because it's just the facts of your current situation. Now, if you're listening to this right now and you are broke, I mean, it is what it is. You have to start somewhere. But I'm talking to, in this particular podcast, I'm talking to coaches who are already at 10K a month and you want to scale to 20, stack some cash for a little while. Stack some cash in your bank account. Feel the feelings, right? Like feel the feelings of what it, everyone has different financial situations, but feel the feelings of what it feels like to have 50 grand in your account, 80 grand in your account, 100 grand in your account. Sure, if you want to buy nice things, if you want to level up different elements of your lifestyle, absolutely you can. But slowly start to raise your financial set point, okay? Because the more you do that, you get, and I know there's a lot of females who listen to this podcast, but it's just something I heard from a mentor and it always stuck in my head. You start to have bigger balls. And what I mean by that is that you can get almost even more clear on your ideal type of client. You can almost like start to filter in and out different clients who are energy vampires and filter in the perfect 10 out of 10 ideal types of clients, right? Like your content, you can start to like almost talk more to the things you really want to talk about. And you start to really, truly live your truth, if you will, because you're in a good spot and you can take risks. So having that cash in the bank and experiencing the feelings of having that cash in the bank, especially when you're having 20K months, is important. Don't waste it on a Lambo or buying all this different gym equipment, things like that. I should rephrase that. You're not wasting it, but you want to have that certainty. You want to have that certainty. So that's number 6. And number 7, which is the last one, is congruency. Okay. So this is a good one for me to kind of land this plane on this podcast, is everything that you do, everything that you say, everything that you build in your coaching business, your content, your value videos, how you demonstrate things, how you coach, it should be in alignment with your core values as a person. Also in your business, what are your core values in your business as well? If you're scattered, if you're always changing your ideal type of client, changing your content, changing what you stand for as a company, it lowers trust in the minds of your ideal types of clients. The more congruent you are, the more consistent. And now I'm not saying you can't evolve, right? Like obviously you can grow and evolve, but if you're wishy-washy on your ideal client and what your process is and the core values, I guarantee you're probably getting no clients. And even if you are, you're building your foundation of business on a house of cards, right? So be congruent, especially if you're a coach who's at 10K a month and you want to get to 20K a month, be even more congruent with your process. Be even more congruent with your core values because you want to simplify it even more because again, simple scales, complex fails. So be congruent as you can. So that's it for me today, guys. Those are the 7 C's to get to 20K months. I know that's me talking more high level, like on a principle level instead of a strategy tactical level, but it is important for me to speak on these foundational principles because it's what your business lives on top of, right? And if you're building a foundation on sand, it's going to crumble. So understanding these seasons is key, and take them on. Like, understand, okay, am I living in alignment with these 7 C's? Even if you're at 5K a month or 6K a month, and you can get to 10K a month rather quickly. Let me clear my throat there. Like, absolutely you can. So take that on, and make sure that you guys are applying this, because 20K months, like, for some of you listening to this, it might seem like, ooh, that's kind of far off. That's not even realistic. And it might not be for you right now, this week or this month or in a couple months. But if you slowly start training your mind to act in alignment with the type of coach who is capable of having 20K months, you will get there. You will get there. You just need to make sure that you're doing the right things in sequence to get there. And I'm going to teach you those things on this podcast. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. I appreciate your ear. Talk to you later.